Loud. And you're recording. So I want to make this kind of informal, Marty, because you and I have talked before. We're friends, and I just want to find out how you're doing. I want to interview the top M&A entrepreneurs. So this is Marty Fonke. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be one of your inaugural guests.
You are the inaugural guest.
Oh, I'm
You are
the
the
inaugural
first.
guest.
Yes. I mean, I've got other people signed up, but you are the very first guest.
You know what they say about pioneers, right? They're the ones that wind up with the arrows in their back, and then everybody else just follows along behind them after they blaze the trail. So
Yeah, like, hey, honey, let's go build, it's 1820 or something like that. Let's go build a house out in the West in Idaho or something. What do you think? It's, property's free. Yeah, no thanks. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
So, we met each other through Roland's Epic course, which is
Yep.
the M&A group. And I just kind of want to find out, I'm going to ask you some questions, just how it's going for you. So everybody on the other side gets a sense of, who you are, what you do, how your success, and, your failures on that. So let's just start with, what do you do now? I know you've got a great career. I've seen that. We've talked, and I've seen you on video.
Well, yeah. So easiest way to describe it is I create money out of thin air. So whether that be through marketing strategies or whether that be through investment strategies, mergers and acquisitions, I find ways to put money into company owners' pockets.
Yeah, and so you're looking at a company. What size of companies do you work with now?
The range is pretty broad, actually. Between 1 million and 175 million are the deals we've done in the last, or the deals we're working on completing in the last year. So it's a pretty broad range. But
Yeah,
175 million is the biggest one so far, and of this past year, the biggest ever I've done was about 300 million.
yeah, that's amazing. Now you came on as making money out of thin air as like a consultant or contractor with that one, or what was that?
Yeah. So whether it's if I'm coming in, approaching it from my consulting and management advisory, I can basically walk into any business and find where they are leaving money on the table, whether it's through increasing revenues, increasing profits. Sometimes there's more money to be made in just efficiencies than there are in increasing revenues. Because if you've got a bad system, then you're just exacerbating the problem with increasing revenues. And then from the investment side, helping business owners find ways of raising capital that aren't always the traditional ways that they would think of. And, whether it's most business owners, if they need capital, they think of banks, which is debt lending, right? They think of SBA loans, which is debt. They think of private equity. They think of VC. And there are hundreds of other options out there for raising capital that I can help business owners find if they need funds to grow.
Yeah. When you raise funds or use alternative methods to raise funds, now what are you looking at as the best scenario or possible case? Let me give you an example. I had this conversation with a guy earlier this morning that the business needs to raise capital, and I said, well, what's it going to be used for?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the times I've seen people come to they raise money because it's going to solve all their problems, right?
Right.
I said, no, where I've seen the best success is if they already know what their metrics are, cost of acquiring a customer is. And if it's $100 or $1,000, then you ask like, well, what if I give you $100,000? Would you still have the same profit margin adding all those customers? And what if I give you 1,000 or 1,000,000? Am I going to get the, turn $1 into $5?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a question that always needs to be asked, because quite frankly, I would guess, well, it's probably 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the time when you ask that question, you get an answer that's less than satisfactory, right? Like they're wanting to spend the money. They're usually trying to throw money at a problem that should just be fixed first. And then you can put money into capitalizing on fixing that problem. So definitely I'm always asking the business owner, what is the problem you're trying to solve? And that's why it's can be any number of things. It could be fixing something that's broken. It could be everything's right. They just need more customers, which is a marketing and sales problem. Or it could be that they have something that definitely needs capital, whether it's equipment or inventory capital, et cetera. There are times when just truly cash is needed. And
Yeah.
so going in and understanding that and helping that business owner to really look at what is the money that they need and why do they need it is absolutely great advice. So
Yeah.
you're right on that.
Well, let's go back to the Epic course. This is where we met you, and this is an Epic course started by Roland Fraser. It's basically an M&A course, which turns into kind of a mastermind because we're networking with everybody. So,
Yeah.
what did you think of the course?
It was life-changing for me. So I am not a take a course kind of guy. I have taken a sum total in my 35-year career. I've taken a sum total of 4 courses in my life. I limit myself to 1 per decade, apparently. And so I'm not one of those that, jumps on every guru. I'm not a big guru guy. I'm not a big course guy, et cetera. But uh, I do a lot of business in and with China. And so I could see at the end of 2019, well before most people, what was coming to the United States with regard to the coronavirus. Already my factories were being shut down. I was seeing all sorts of issues, and I was starting to warn people like something's coming, and it's going to be a huge disruptor, and you need to be ready. Well, I knew what was coming. And from a personal standpoint, there were things I could do to prepare. From a business standpoint, there were some things I could do to prepare, but I didn't know exactly what to do to fully prepare for what I knew was coming. But I was ready. So we're recording this literally almost to the day 1 year after the world started shutting down. And I kind of sat there. I got lucky because some of my businesses that I work with were able to take advantage of, or let's use a different word, were able to capitalize on the lockdown. So one was a company that produces calming sleep music. Well, everybody had such high anxiety that product was selling like gangbusters. I mean, record levels. But other products and businesses I had were suffering. Um, I do a lot of TV and radio advertising for a lot of my businesses. And so there was an opportunity that came along where um, all national advertising for things like movie theaters, car sales, restaurants, et cetera, all stopped. They pulled their budgets overnight. And so almost every single TV and radio network out there went from cranking along in one of the best robust economies we had to every budget being cut overnight. So there were huge opportunities with media I was taking advantage of, but I was watching to see what's the long-term ramifications here. I knew that businesses were going to be shutting down and going out of business. I knew that entrepreneurs were going to be struggling. I knew that a lot of people in my circle of influence were going to be hurt because they were in restaurants or other types of businesses that there was no way they were going to survive an extended lockdown. And I knew it was going to be extended lockdown. There were a lot of people who were like, fell for the 2 weeks to flatten the curve line. I knew it wasn't going to be 2 weeks. I knew it was going to be months or years. So I quickly was looking for, how can I help people? How can I survive this? How can my businesses survive this? And how can I help others survive this? And it was less than 30 days later, I think it was only 3 weeks later, that I got an email from Roland. And I was actually signed up to be in his at Traffic and Conversion to go to the VIP dinner with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Marcus Lemonis. And I think there were only 15 or 20 of us that were signed up for that. And so I was, was kind of upset that had all gotten canceled because I had a specific reason to want to meet Marcus Lemonis and on a project I was doing. So I was on one of Roland's very first emails, and he said, "Hey, I've got this course. Would you be interested?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So it was the 5-day course, the Epic Challenge.
Yeah.
And it was brand new for him. He had done one live version before, but he hadn't done it virtually. So I was on that. I was 3 days into that 5-day challenge, and I knew this was it. I knew this was the way I could help people.
So you were Epic number one course?
Number one. Yeah. Right out the gate. Yeah. I mean, I didn't hesitate at all. The second I got the email from him, I was like, oh, I know where this is going. I could just see it.
Now
So I
you
signed
now
up for the
you
5 days. Yeah, go ahead.
you knew Roland before, or you were in part of digital marketer before, or
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So I had traffic and conversion was a very important conference for me. It was one of my most profitable conferences. I had a lot of business partners that I met out there. I went out there for networking. I went out there for education, et cetera. I had met Roland. I wouldn't say I knew him, but I had met him. And then, like I said, there was a VIP dinner that was scheduled that I was signed up for with Arnold and Marcus. And so, and that got canceled. And so I was already kind of working with Roland and his team and Deanna and things like that. So
Yeah.
I think it's why I got kind of the early bird sneak preview, like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Would you want to kind of, we're in the beta group, we're called, because we, all the kinks weren't worked out yet. So 5 days into the Epic Challenge, or 3 days into the 5-day challenge, I already knew this was, absolutely a game changer for me. And I went ahead and did the 8-week full course. And anytime I've ever done a course, like I said, I don't do very many, but anytime I've ever done it, I always tell myself, I want to see an ROI from that in the time frame that the program is. So, I put a couple $1,000s into it, and I said, okay, and it's an 8-week course. This is so in 8 weeks, I have to make back my $3,000. And I always do that. When anything I do, I always put an ROI to.
By the way, it's not 3,000 anymore.
Oh, I don't know how much it is now. I'm sure it was. Is it a lot more now?
Yeah.
Worth. Well, I don't care how much it is. It's worth every penny. It was probably cheaper for us because it was beta. But
Beta, yeah.
I made my money back by the second week.
Well, okay. So tell me about that. What did you acquire a company or
Yeah.
what? Oh, what kind of company was it?
So it was my bookkeeping company. So the company that I already used to that did all my bookkeeping for my other businesses. And we learned about a technique called the pipe wrench technique, which is basically, you go to a company you're already working with, and well, backing up. So how do you find businesses to acquire? And the starting place is, who do you already do business with? Who do you write checks to, and who writes checks to you? Your whole supply chain is an opportunity for investment. So the pipe wrench technique is basically going to a business that you already do business with and saying, hey, I have a new motto, and that is, I only do business with companies that I own part of. And so you already have several of my accounts. I'm going to be acquiring a bunch more companies. I will bring all those companies to you as new business. Your business is going to grow, but I want to own a part of your company. And it was one phone call and 2 emails, and that deal was done.
Oh my God, that's great. Well, what are we talking about? A bookkeeping service? Was it a CPA or just?
It's a BPO.
Yeah.
So they do all the QuickBooks. They do taxes. And all kind. They're not a CPA. They're a bookkeeping firm. So, it's funny. I literally an hour before this call, I just got my February profit share from them. So,
yeah. So how did that work out? Now, how are you doing? Like the profit first, like Michael does?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, every deal I do is different. That particular one was structured. So I get paid monthly, I get paid annually, and I'll get paid if the company is ever liquidated, which I don't anticipate this one, really exiting anytime soon. This is it's a small business. There's 4 employees. It's one of those.
Should be doing about CPAs. I have a buddy in the M&A world for CPAs, and 4 employees, about 600,000 to $1 million. So
yeah. So they're a nice business, but that some of them that I do these kind of deals with, it's like, okay, you have a specific goal of exiting in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, where this one's like, they have no intention of ever exiting. I don't care.
However long they live and like or dislike doing taxes.
Yes, exactly. So so my very first deal was within the second week. And by the time the 8 weeks had completed, I had completed another deal.
Okay,
and
what was that?
That one was, gosh, I'm gonna think about it. It's been a year. I've done a dozen deals in a year, so I got to think about which one that was.
You've done a dozen deals.
I've done a dozen deals in the last. Oh, that was my beekeeping one, which I've told that story actually a couple times on some other interviews. But Yeah, that was the CBD honey deal.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think I saw that on your interview with somebody else. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I did.
pretty
I did
cool.
tell that story. I don't want to. It's a great story though because it so perfectly frames how this all kind of can work. But yeah, that was my second deal. So that happened on like the fourth week probably. And again, that was a very fast. That was another like 2 phone calls and an email kind of a deal. And so I thought, you know, made it look easy, right? So obviously I have other deals. I just closed one yesterday that
Wow.
I started last July.
Yeah.
Not all of them are that quick. They, you know, obviously some of them take 6, 8, 9 months. And then we've got others that are I'm nurturing and
What's this? So what's this the one you just closed?
so the big one is not closed. We hit a bit of a hiccup, and I'm actually not going to get into too many details about it because of where it is. It's in a really weird place. Basically, it was $175 million asking price for a particular company. We raised the $175 million in about 6 weeks. We raised the $150 million in first 3 weeks, and it took about 3 more weeks to raise the last $25 million. We had the full asking price for the seller. We had for certain reasons, we had a non-exclusive LOI because there were a couple of exceptions that were in play. And while we were trying to get everything finalized, and we were that close, somebody came in and offered $65 million more than we did, and
Cash?
took us out of the deal. No, it's not cash. And so we firmly believe that deal is going to unravel and we're going to get back in it. And that's why I'm not going to get too far back into
Yeah.
it.
So you and I talked about this, and I'd be very discreet about this too. Is oddly enough, I know one of the guys that owns it, not the
Yeah.
son of the guy that he went to NAU, I went to U of A, we're in the same fraternity. We knew each other from that.
Yeah.
So that's very odd, very small circles. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a crazy situation. They have 3 more weeks to close that deal. And then we're back in. So
So they're probably out trying to raise the funds.
they're out trying to raise the funds. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not doing it. Are you coming back with more funds to help them, or are you staying with the same offer?
We're going to lower our offer if he comes back.
Okay. All right.
So.
Interesting. So, and the
We'll
guy,
see.
have you still had conversations with him? Has that gone quiet?
We're in communication. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So what's
It's
go
a
back
great
to the other
big
deal.
game of chess, man.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's emotional, right?
Oh God, when that got taken out from underneath me, I literally was like sitting at my desk for about 20 or 30 minutes, just speechless.
Yeah.
And then I shook it off, and I was like, okay, this can't be what just happened. And so I started doing some digging and some researching, and made some calls and had some conversations with some smart people like you who gave me some things to think about. And then that's when we realized this deal isn't dead yet. There's some extenuating circumstances. So, but
yeah, that's
yeah,
odd that I called you within hours of that happening.
yeah, I think it was that afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like it recalls. I want to bring this up. I was reading something in Inc. magazine from back in 2012. It was Tony Robbins' business, and he's talking about Peter Gruber. You know Peter Gruber from Hollywood. He was at Sony, and he did his stuff. He said, "I've had many cataclysmic and painful failures in my life," Gruber says, emphasizing Tony Robbins. "But he helped me overcome and move through them faster and more efficiently. Like the fact that the uncertainty doesn't threaten me anymore. It doesn't threaten me." How did you get through that and say, it's not dead, or I'm just gonna let it go, or there's just too many opportunities out there?
Like I said, I literally sat there for about 20 to 30 minutes, just completely speechless. And then I got back to work and just said, you know what? Either this deal's still going to come around and I'll make it happen, which is great, or I will learn a lot of things from the deal. So one of the things I learned is that, if I need to scrape up $175 million in 6 weeks, I can do it.
You've got since then you've made those contacts to do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got the intent letters and everything. So now I've learned where to go and how to do how to, put that kind of money together for the right deal, which is great. That's because that's bigger than any kind of deal I've ever done by myself. I've done bigger deals as part of a team, but by myself, I've never raised that kind of money. So, and to do that in 2020 was to me impressive. Now I know that actually isn't that impressive because there's a ton of dry powder out there with regard to investment. So, it's actually a great time to be looking for cash to buy companies or invest in companies. But so I chalked it up to, look, if the deal never happens, I learned some things that I would do different with the deal process to more guarantee surety of close. I've made some amazing connections. I've got tens of millions of dollars of investment capital in my back pocket for the next couple of deals that I'm working on, which I'm working on other deals. And it's been a fun ride. Now, do I still want to close that deal? Yeah, I'd love to have that EBITDA in my pocket because the business is minting money. But if it never comes back, then it wasn't meant to be. And I've learned some great lessons from it, made some great contacts from it, and I'll go do another deal.
Yeah. Good for you. I do want to ask you about that process because, we go through Epic, we learn how to purchase companies with no money out of pocket or other people's money. But there's a big gap between some of these companies. As you grow larger, they're going to say, I would, I want some down payments, some deferred down payments. So you have to find that. Now, what did you do about going and finding that dry capital and say, talking to an investment banker, hey, Marty, you're purchasing this company. Let me know when you come to the next deal. Here's a letter of intent for $25-50 million.
Right.
What was that process?
So we started with looking for actual equity investors, and when I say we, I say I've got a particular partner who he and I have worked together for several years. We've grown a couple of companies to $30-40 million together, and so we worked on this project together. And so the first thing we do is reach out to people that were high net worth individuals in some family offices that we knew would have equity. So we raised the first $30 million that way. And that was fairly quick. We kind of knew who to call, and we've been working this network for years, and so and then from there it was a matter of the rest of it was going to be debt, and so it was a matter of talking to the right banks with the right mindset, and we very quickly got 55 million committed right away, and then we actually one of our earlier phone calls was a bank that they were sitting on so much capital that hadn't been deployed. They were begging us to be in. Their ceiling was at 30 million though. So they committed 30 million in one phone call and literally begged us, please take my money because this is a deal we can make work and we got to get money out there and please put us in the deal. So okay, twist our arms. So
Yeah.
so we pretty quickly had, over 100 million and we just kind of kept stacking it up from there. So,
Well, that's not, I mean, that's a lot of dry powder. Are you upping your level about who you're going for? This is because this is funny. I read a lot of books on Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett.
No.
And he starts at See's Candies at $26 million. And now it's like to move the needle, I need to make a $40 billion acquisition. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. So I have different levels that I'm working at. So I have my own personal acquisitions that I'm doing, and those are on the smaller scale. I have two different partnerships. One is in the healthcare space, and we've got $30 million committed there. So we're looking for, and we're specifically looking for businesses in basically the 2 to 3, maybe $2 to $4 million range in that, because that's the sweet spot where they want to find them. We're doing a roll up on that. And then with other partners we are open to anything up to, hundreds of millions if it's the right deal. So,
yeah. And of course you leave that management in place. All of it. Is it all of these companies you look at and say, hey, we leave management in place, keep doing what you're doing?
No. So I've had three different kind of deals that I've kind of done in the last year or tried to do in the last year. So one of my first closings was a company that the owner wanted to retire and leave the business. But I had an operator in mind who I've known for many years and I trusted, who, when I saw the business for sale, I said, I brought it to my friend. I said, you'd be perfect for running this company. He's like, yes, I would. So that worked out great because we were able to do the acquisition, put somebody else in a great job, let the person who owned it retire. Everybody wins. So I'm not always mandatory that the existing operator has to stay or the existing management has to stay.
Yeah.
On most deals, I'm doing less than full acquisitions. I'm doing anywhere from 20 to 49% acquisitions. In those ones, obviously, I'm keeping the management in place. We are looking to them to continue to run the business, run it efficiently. We're bringing to the table a lot of resources, whether it be partnerships, business development, doing business with all the other businesses in our portfolio and our partnership portfolios, business development. I consider myself the number one salesman for most of my portfolio. I'm always out there selling.
How many is in your portfolio now?
Right now, well, as of yesterday, 13.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So since last year, when you started Epic, you've made 13 acquisitions.
No, I've made 12 acquisitions since
12.
I started Epic, but I had 3 already before I started Epic, and then I've spun off 2 of those and kept 1, so total's 13. So
yeah, that's amazing. I mean, can we say you're a star student of Epic?
I am far from. There's plenty of people doing plenty more deals and plenty big deals. I'm just enjoying life, man.
Yeah, that's cool. I love to hear that. Go back to, is there any deals that you did for, you're just like, I would love to own that company? So when some people get very, very rich, it goes, I've got to own that sports club.
Yeah.
Like an ego.
So, well, this big deal I'm working on. So I was working on, how the types of deals as far as like management and stuff. So there's been mostly deals where I keep management in place. There's been 2 deals where management has left and I've replaced them with operators. And the big deal that I've been working on, I actually was going to take that over. I actually want to run that company because I clearly can see how that company can triple in revenue. And I know how to get it there. I've got the vision, everything. So I was actually going to run that business for about 3 years. And because I think I can get that to be $1 billion business without too much effort. So now obviously I'm not going to go run $1 million business, but I will run a $200 million business if it makes sense for me. So those are the 3, kind of 3 models, whether it's the owner operator stays, the owner operator leaves and I replace them with somebody I trust, or whether I become the owner operator, which is going to be a very specific deal. And if another one comes along that's almost that perfect, I'll do that one. But yeah, I'm not looking to run most any company. And so my involvement generally tends to be as a strategic advisor and as the chief salesman. I'm always looking to grow, any businesses I work with. And but from a strategic advisor standpoint, is I'm the coach. I'm the one that's a lot of times the business owners that are currently there, if even though they maintain ownership, there's a reason they sold part of their company to me, right? They're in trouble, or they plateaued, or they're doing good but they want to grow faster. Whatever it is, there's some reason why they were open to an investment. So what I always do is look for opportunities where the company has some very specific issues that I know I can solve and help that company to, unclog and grow faster and scale.
Yeah. So all of them or most of them are non-controlling interest. Do you have a put call agreement in place and the profit first kind of deal in place?
So some of them have, I usually put an option in there. So a buyout option down the road, which is usually tantalizingly high for the seller. And I use that as leverage on the front end. So I kind of use it as a bargaining chip to get a better deal on the front end. So, but yeah, most of them, and there's several that are specifically going to be growth opportunities for the next 3 years, and then they specifically want to exit. and they're really designed around doing that. And so, I'm gonna increase the value, and my profit's going to come from my ownership shares of that company. So.
Yeah. Are you have any plans or to take any of these companies public?
So yeah, there's a couple of them I think are right for a Reg A plus, and
Hmm.
or other things. The healthcare business that we're working on that we've got the funding for is specifically is going to be, and that 30 million is just the initial seed. I mean, we definitely have a goal of taking that into a $1 billion valuation, and through a couple of different
What
strategies.
kind of healthcare company is that?
We're going to focus on home healthcare companies.
Uh-huh.
So, companies that are going around, there's about 15, well, somewhere between 12 and 15,000 home healthcare businesses in the United States. And most of them were started by some sort of medical professional, usually a nurse, who, sick and tired and fed up with the medical system and a hospital system. And they want to make a difference and be more personal and hands-on. And so they start this home healthcare business so they can go into people's homes and take care of them.
Yeah.
All great, right? But the reality is that's a brutally tough business, and a lot of them have, they're great nurses, but they aren't great business people. And so I can't tell you how many deals I've had conversations, pitches that I've had conversations where the owner of the business, I mean, they got 25, 30 employees, and they're literally driving down the road in between patients, with their entire business on the passenger seat of their car in file folders and milk crates, trying to do paperwork in between calls, and then take calls from us and beg us, please help me figure out how to do this right. And so we've started with, so there's a lot of burnout in that space right now. The COVID thing has really been brutal on them. So that space is very interesting to us because there's a lot of business owners who are thinking about selling. It's a business that's critical today and will become more and more critical as the peak of the baby boomer generation hits their critical mass with healthcare problems in 2030. So there's 9 more years before the healthcare system just completely, is overwhelmed. And so we're positioning that business to be, on the forefront. What we want to do is build the Nordstrom of home healthcare, basically.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
anytime you have a fragmented industry, what's his name? Wayne Huizinga from Blockbuster saw that fragmentation. Said,
with videos,
fragmentation's opportunity.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there, and when, and if you are interested in home healthcare for yourself or for your parents or whatever, and I say, what's the brand?
Yeah.
There
No,
isn't one.
there is none.
There's brands in managed care with facilities, so a place for mom, right? So, but that means you got to haul her to a place. But there is no national brand for home health care, and so my partner and I are setting out to change that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. I want to go back to your developing these relationships with the family offices. Now, very specifically, how did that look like? You created a pitch deck or an offer deck, or did you just, this is just kind of phone call and it's in the back pocket and say, hey, next deal I want to do? What does that look like?
It's been a little bit of so on the front end of this, it's been a couple of personal relationships. So I know some people who have some fairly, good sized family offices. So it's been in the early days of kind of doing this in 2020, making phone calls, say, hey, I'm looking at doing this. I'm looking at doing acquisitions. If I need capital, what are you interested in doing? And then they've kind of told me, and it's been in the early days of this last spring, or mid, spring, summer of 2020, it was a whole lot of, hey, we aren't putting any money into anything. We don't know what's going on. But
Yeah, yeah,
very quickly by the fall, they were calling me back going, okay, we've got to deploy funds, and we're interested in what are you doing? And so the conversations definitely did not go great at the beginning because I was too early. I was too, everybody was just hunkered down and nobody was deploying capital anywhere. But I stayed on them, and so picked up a few of those. I guess some of them are some people that I've worked with before. Ironically, one of them is one of my earliest acquisitions, who went on to, I think that acquisition was $2 million. This is 20 years ago, like $2 million. And then he went on and built another business, and it was acquired for 700 million. And so this guy knows how to build businesses and sell them. I bought his $2 million business, but I didn't buy his $700 million business.
He said, I got to get out of here because I see bigger potential in some other stuff.
Exactly. You can have my little $2 million business. So, but so I have some connections with people who have connections, and I've just been working them. So when that great big deal came along, it obviously got much more aggressive. And it was interesting because there was no pitch deck involved. There was no nothing. It was literally call those people, and nobody, no one family office or no one bank is going to put in all that money. They all want to do, some sort of syndication, right?
Yeah, and some of them were waiting for the first guy to, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, so we had our first group. And so from there, it was like, hey, so-and-so's in and so-and-so's in. Are you good for, 2 million or 5 million or whatever? Yeah, absolutely. And so, but it was interesting because people who normally wouldn't have probably taken our calls, it was a very, back of the napkin kind of thing. Like, here's the business, here's the money, here's the EBITDA. And, this thing is just throwing off cash like nobody's business. And, okay. I mean, it was crazy how quick that went. So yeah.
Where did you, how did you source that deal? Where did that come from?
Another Epic member.
Oh, awesome. So collaboration.
Yeah. Networking and working with, other investors and other people who are in the M&A space. Everybody's got something specific they're looking for, and everybody has something specific they are not interested in. And there are plenty of deals out there to go around. And so I've got myself plugged in pretty well to several people who are bringing me deals on a pretty regular basis.
I've brought you 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, so that one came to me from somebody who, was fairly fresh into the game. And so, they picked up on it, and they were out, they found it cold calling.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
so
what is their split in the deal? Did they,
I don't,
if it goes through, right?
If it goes through. Yeah. So it was depending on how the deal closed. Now, we were closing this one as independent sponsors. And so our independent sponsor success fee was going to be, 2%. And so he would have gotten half of that, basically. So 1% of the 175 million. So
yeah, I think everybody would take that.
Yeah. Not bad for a cold call.
Yeah.
I mean, 1% doesn't sound like much when you're talking numbers like that.
175 million. It's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, so networking has been my number one source of deal flow without question. I have, number 2 though has been podcasts just like this.
Yeah.
I've been, I've had a lot of people who've reached out to me and asked me to do interviews, and every single interview I do, I just watch the web traffic spike up, and then the phone calls start coming in. And the last interview I just released about 2 weeks ago, within 2 hours of the interview dropping, I had 3 really interesting deals, contacting me. So that's been kind of cool.
Yeah. And yeah, that's cool. I have you watched the Jason Kalkanis and Chamath and Freeberg and Sachs, this Silicon Valley investors? No. Oh, it's awesome. I mean, Chamath is just wicked smart. I mean, he's wicked smart. Yeah. I mean, the analysis he puts over situations, just amazing. That is a great podcast.
I'll check it out. Thanks.
Yeah.
So that's really been my 2 primary sources of deals has been networking and word of mouth, and, and doing interviews with really smart, cool people like you.
Oh, thank you.
That's been,
the collaboration. I have to share this story. We just partnered up with Adam Lyons. He's one of the other instructors. You know him, right?
Yep.
So we're partnered up with another business, but I was listening to one of the conference calls, and he said, I was helping another Epic member try to do a $6 million deal, and we got stuck on it. Something snagged, right? And the guy wanted to see proof of funds for some amount. I don't remember what it was. So Adam reached out to another guy who had lots of cash, took a screenshot. He said, it took a screenshot of his bank account, sent it to him, and Adam gave him 6% of the deal, and they closed with the LOI. So I mean, it's pretty cool. Just for that, it goes, you for 6% of a $6 million company, you just want a screenshot? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah. So what's next for you? I mean, you'd like to get this company, but do you have any big deals coming in? You're going like, oh, this is really exciting. I got the SEAL team, deal team in place. I got Grant. I got all my accountants. I got my own bookkeeping.
Yeah.
I got funds ready to go. You're now on the precipice of something big, huh?
Yeah. I don't know what's next because I haven't seen the next really big deal. I've got several kind of small to medium deals happening. I've got one. I've got a $22 million seller who literally won't leave me alone. She's begging me to buy her business, and I'm just like,
Why? Why is she
know,
begging
we'll
you?
See. This will be one where the owner, well, she will exit. She needs to exit the business. She's burnt. She's been in the hospital twice with stress-related illnesses.
Oh, I've already met 4 or 5 of those types. Like health, I gotta get out. I mean,
yeah, and so which is so it's like, okay, now if the terms are right, we'll do it. But it's right in my sweet spot. It's a business category I've already done, I don't know, $80 to $100 million in sales in personally. So so that one might be interesting. We just got to work out the right price and the right terms. But that just came about recently, and I've had 3 people today call me and say she keeps calling me. She wants you to call her and like close this deal. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see. Wait till the price gets a little more realistic. So,
yeah. Oh, so what's the multiple evaluation is too high?
So the issue there is that her books aren't very clean.
Okay, so we don't really know the true story.
Yeah. I'm willing to take a gamble on fuzzy books, but I'm only going to do that if the worst possible scenario is what we base the numbers on. So, and she's kind of wanting to base the numbers on the best possible scenario, and I'm basically saying let's just clean up the books. So, so we'll see. That's one of those that's not going to happen overnight.
Can you ask for the bank statements and just say, hey, we're going to go off the bank statements, not. But that would cost you a lot of money.
Then you're doing due diligence before you got a deal,
Yeah.
So we'll get there. I'm confident in that one. We'll get there.
Well, good. So let's do this. I mean, I've probably taken up your hour, and I love this. I could probably talk for another hour.
Yeah, you had 10 questions, and I think we're only at 2. Like
we're only at
2 or 3.
Yeah, 2. So.
You wanted to try to do this in 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's like I was crazy. Okay, I overestimated that. All right. Sorry. And I think Patch Baker said that too. And he goes, I'm not going to do a 15-minute conversation with you. And I go, yeah, it turned out really stupid to say, I'm going to crossfire you with these questions you're going to answer real fast. That didn't work out.
It could have been fun. I mean, we could still try the format sometime. I was kind of practiced. I think I could have nailed it. I don't know how much of content or value the content would have to the listener, but it could still be done. I think it'd still be interesting to try that.
I think it's so much more
By
valuable.
the way, rock stars, M&A rock stars. I mean, Patch is crushing it. Holy moly!
Yeah. Somebody told me I joined his 3 p.m. Thursday marketing call.
The Mobius.
He's done 40.
Wow.
40 acquisitions. Yeah. I heard.
Yeah, that I believe it. They steamroll though. Like once you start doing a couple, then all this I used to have to go out and find deals, and now they're coming to me faster than I can even keep track of them. And so I can believe that he's really doing awesome. Yeah.
And let me ask you back to like personally, what has it done for your confidence or just who you are as a like you walk in the door and doesn't matter. I mean, the prettiest girl on the planet would look at you and go, that guy's powerful,
I still drive a Toyota. Actually, I drive 2 Toyotas. I have a truck and a car. What it's done for me, it's done 2 things. It has made me feel good about myself knowing I'm helping others. I mean, I have saved some businesses. I have literally saved some businesses and literally saved some jobs. Not as many as I had hoped. I had these really grand visions of like doing a lot more saving. And a lot of my deals, I'm saving some jobs, but other ones, they're making more efficient. I'm almost losing jobs because I'm making the business more efficient. We don't even need as many people. So I'm a little frustrated about that, but I am helping people, and I know that. And that's the most important thing to me, because that's really why I did this.
Hmm.
Second is I am having a ball. I am having so much fun right now. And my mom called me this morning and she said, "Do you realize that you haven't talked to me in 2 weeks?" And I'm like, "Really?
Naughty boy.
Didn't I
Naughty
just
boy.
talk to you like 2 days ago?" And she's like, "No, it was this day and this is what happened. And you were going to dinner." And I was like, "Oh, wow." I'm going a million miles an hour. And I'll have to slow down. But I play hard too. I take a lot of vacations and I get off the grid and fairly frequently, to the point my partners get annoyed with me. Um, but I'm having so much fun that a 14-hour day of Zoom calls, it, I'm exhausted, but
Yeah.
I go to sleep with a smile on my face.
And wake up and go, hey, let's do it
Let's
again.
do it again. Is
Yeah.
it second, is it 6 a.m. yet? Let's go. And so that's the coolest thing, I think, is that this stuff can be so fun, and every deal is so unique. There are
Yeah.
no two deals alike. You got to be creative. You've got to think outside the box and look at it from every angle, and understand the needs of the sell. I mean, this is the stuff I learned back as a salesman.
I think that's, let me interrupt you because I think that's why you're so excited, because it's new every day.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, if it
it
was the
is.
same thing every day, you just grow boring of it.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I am not a person that could work on an assembly line and do the same thing every day, day in and day out. God love the people that are. Thank you very much. I'm a huge fan
Yeah.
of Mike Rowe and the jobs out there that I could never do, the skilled labor jobs and whatnot. But for me, I just have to be creative and I have to be innovative. And this has given me the ability to doing mergers and acquisitions and scaling businesses, has given me so much opportunity to just totally be creative, be an artist, but an artist with businesses. I can't draw a straight line to save my life. I can't sing. I don't have any of those kind of artistic abilities, but my artistic ability is in business and growing them and scaling them and making them more profitable. And that's my canvas, and I love it every single day.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I'm going to end on that, because that's a beautiful note right there. So I want to appreciate your time, Marty. I hope we can do this again.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, John. Well, for your first one, I hope that I set the bar at least reasonably high, so that when people like Patch or whatever show up, you don't look back and go, "Oh man, that first one with Marty
that was boring. I got 100 views, and Patch gets 4,000. He goes like, no. This is going to be great. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to stop recording.